All right, so today we're diving into landing your dream job in manufacturing. We're talking about becoming a rolling stock assembly supervisor. You've gathered some interesting stuff on this, so let's unpack it.
Yeah, it's really interesting how the whole job search thing is changing.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not just sending out resumes anymore.
Right.
It seems like AI and tech are becoming more and more important for finding and landing the right job.
Yeah, like having a secret weapon almost.
Yeah.
Speaking of secret weapons, one of the sources you shared that I found really interesting was RoleCatcher.
Uh-huh.
They use AI to streamline the job search process, like finding the right roles and prepping for interviews. What is that all about?
A RoleCatcher is a perfect example of how using technology can give you a real advantage in today's job market. So their AI looks at job descriptions and it figures out the exact skills that employers want, and then it helps you to rewrite your resume to highlight those skills.
Wow, so it's like having someone who knows exactly how to write a resume for the computer.
Basically, yeah.
That's incredible. Okay, so before we go too far down the RoleCatcher road, let's talk about this job. Rolling Stock Assembly Supervisor. Um, it sounds very official. What does it even mean?
Well, it's a really important role in manufacturing. We're talking trains,
Yeah.
trams, all those vehicles that are essential and have to keep moving.
Yeah.
And you're not just putting the parts together, you're actually leading a team and making sure that everything runs smoothly. You even have to come up with ways to improve the entire production process.
Okay, so it's a lot more than just assembly. You're like building a team and optimizing systems, the
Yeah.
whole nine yards. So what would someone in that job actually do all day?
Well, according to these sources, you could be doing anything from like coordinating what all the employees are doing to creating those really important production reports. You might even be training new people on the newest assembly techniques. It's a very dynamic role that needs someone with both technical expertise and leadership skills.
So you need a pretty specific set of skills to do well in that job.
You do.
What would you say are some of the must-have skills for a rolling stock assembly supervisor?
Well, leadership is super important, obviously. You're managing a team, so you need to be able to motivate people. You need to delegate tasks the right way, and you have to be able to create a work environment that's positive and productive.
Sure.
Um, Analytical thinking is also important because you're dealing with these complex systems and processes. So you have to be able to see problems and then analyze the data and come up with solutions. And then, of course, a deep understanding of how manufacturing processes work is key. You need to know how things are made, how to fix things when they break, and how to get the most out of production.
Right, this isn't like your grandfather's assembly line.
No, not at all.
The sources mention something called predictive maintenance
Right.
and using data to figure out problems before they even happen. So you might be overseeing automated welding systems or even programming robots.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's becoming more and more important in this field to have a good understanding of mechatronics and automation software and maybe even some coding. You've got to be able to combine those old school manufacturing skills with the latest technology.
So it sounds like things are always changing in this industry.
Absolutely.
And in fact, the sources even included these short profiles of people at different points in their careers. And it really highlighted how you can start with a very hands-on technical background, and then you gradually take on more leadership and strategic responsibilities as you move up.
Yeah, a lot of people think that manufacturing is this like static field. But the reality is it's constantly changing and adapting to new technologies and the market. And the people who do well in that kind of environment are the ones who like to keep learning and growing.
So how do you even get started in a field like that? Because even in the last few years, a lot has changed.
That's true. The manufacturing industry is going through a huge transformation, and that's mainly because of automation and something called Industry 4.0.
Industry 4.0, that sounds intense. Is that like the robot revolution we've been hearing about?
Not quite a revolution, but definitely an evolution, I'd say.
Yeah.
Industry 4.0 is about using things like smart technologies and data exchange and automation in the manufacturing process. And it's a game changer when it comes to efficiency and productivity and the skills you need to succeed.
Okay, so it's not so much humans versus robots.
No.
It's more like humans working with robots.
Exactly. It's a partnership. Think of it like humans are teaching robots how to do their jobs better.
Right.
And then the robots free up the humans so they can focus on things that are more complex, like problem solving and coming up with new ideas.
That's really interesting. So for someone who's excited by all this change and they want to be at the forefront of this evolving industry, what's their next move?
I mean, they've already taken the first step, which is to be curious and informed. But the sources also talk about how important it is to never stop learning in this industry.
Yeah.
It's not about just getting that first degree or certificate. It's about always updating what you know and staying ahead of the game.
So what does that look like in real life?
Well,
So we've talked about the skills and the technology and this whole Industry 4.0 thing, but let's get into the real world. What are some challenges and successes that a rolling stock assembly supervisor might actually face on the job?
okay, well, the sources you found actually have some good examples. So I imagine you're in charge of this team, and you're putting together a brand new high-speed train car.
Okay.
And then there's a delay in getting an important part, like maybe a special braking system.
Oh, no.
So now your team can't do anything and you have a deadline to meet.
Right.
And you might even have to pay penalties if you don't get it done on time.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure.
It is. That's where those leadership and problem-solving skills are really important. The first thing is you have to stay calm
Yeah.
and figure out what's going on. Can you use what you already have to keep some of the assembly line going? Can you give your team other tasks to do while you wait for that missing part? You have to think fast and be resourceful.
So it's like a huge puzzle with really high stakes.
Yeah,
Except instead of puzzle pieces, you're dealing with train parts and people's jobs.
exactly. And the best supervisors are the ones who can not only solve the problem right in front of them, but figure out how to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Right.
So maybe you look at the supply chain and find where things are getting stuck. Or you work with your team to come up with a better way to manage the inventory. It's about turning those challenges into ways to improve.
And that's something I really like about this career path. It's
Yeah.
not just about following instructions. It's about using your skills and your knowledge to make a real difference.
Definitely. And, the sources also talk about communication and working together, which are so important in this role. Because you're not just managing your team. You're talking to other departments and suppliers, maybe even clients. And you have to be able to explain technical stuff really clearly and manage everyone's expectations and build relationships with all these different people.
So you're like the center of a wheel,
Right.
and all the spokes are connecting you to all the parts of the manufacturing process.
That's a great way to put it. And just like that center of the wheel, you have to be strong and you have to be able to adjust to keep everything running smoothly. Okay, but let's talk about the good stuff.
Yes, please.
Like, imagine seeing that brand new train car roll off the assembly line.
Oh, wow.
And you know that you and your team played a big part in making it happen.
That must feel amazing.
It really is. There's a real feeling of pride and accomplishment that comes with working in manufacturing, especially when you can see what you've done. And it's not just about building trains, it's about being a part of something bigger.
I like that.
You're contributing to something that connects people and products and economies.
And speaking of building something bigger, the sources talked about how moving up in this field usually means you start working on bigger and more complicated projects. What would that be like for someone in this role?
Well, you might start out overseeing just one part of the assembly and then move on to managing a whole team that's building an entire train car. And eventually, you might even be in charge of producing a whole bunch of trains. There are tons of possibilities, especially as technology changes what's possible in manufacturing.
So there's a lot of room to grow and really focus on certain areas.
Exactly. You might find that you're drawn to a specific type of train, like a high-speed train or an electric locomotive, or maybe you really like a certain part of manufacturing, like quality control or logistics. The more experience you get, the more you can tailor your career to what you enjoy and what you're good at.
And that brings us back to always learning new things. How can someone who wants to be a rolling stock assembly supervisor stay ahead of the curve and set themselves up for success?
Well, we talked about getting certified, but you should also be reading industry magazines and websites and going to conferences. You could even join online forums and communities.
So you have to be involved in the manufacturing world.
Yes. Don't just be a spectator.
Huh.
And this is another area where something like RoleCatcher can be a great tool. They'll give you the latest industry news and connect you with opportunities for training. They even offer insights into the newest trends, like how everyone's really into sustainable manufacturing these days.
Right. It's like having a personalized newsfeed for your career,
Exactly.
delivering exactly what you need right when you need it. But let's get back to the human side of things for a minute.
Okay.
The sources mention that the best rolling stock assembly supervisors aren't just tech wizards.
Right.
They're also great with people. Why is that so important in this field?
Well, because manufacturing might seem like it's all about machines and automation and stuff,
Yeah.
but really it's all about people.
Okay.
You're working with this team and you're building something really complex and important. You have to know how to communicate and motivate people and deal with conflicts in a constructive way.
So it's not just about getting the tasks done.
No,
It's about managing relationships.
exactly. If you're a good supervisor, you can inspire your team to do their best,
Right.
not just get the work done. You create a place where everyone feels valued and respected, and that makes a huge difference when it comes to how much they get done if they like their jobs, and even safety.
It sounds like you're talking about creating a culture of working together and always trying to improve.
Exactly. And that's not something that robots can do,
Right.
at least not yet. Human connection, empathy, building trust, those are things that will make a good leader stand out in the age of automation.
That makes sense. So say someone is listening to this and they're thinking, this is the job for me. What should they do? Where do they even start?
Well, they've already started by wanting to learn more. I would tell them to really dive into the world of manufacturing, like go visit a factory and talk to people who work in the industry. Maybe even shadow someone for a day if they can.
Yeah, get some firsthand experience.
Yeah, because it's one thing to read about how to build a train car, but it's totally different to actually see it happen. You can feel the energy on the factory floor and talk to the people who are doing the work.
And you can start to meet people.
Exactly. Networking is so important in any industry, but especially in manufacturing, because who you know and what people think of you really matters. So go to industry events, join online forums, connect with people on LinkedIn. You never know what it might lead to.
And of course, they can always use RoleCatcher
Oh, yeah, definitely.
to help them get their resume in shape, practice their interview skills, and even find potential employers.
It's a really great tool, especially if you're new to the field or if you're trying to switch careers.
Mm.
But besides all the tools and resources, the most important thing is have the right mindset.
Okay.
You have to be willing to learn and love solving problems and be interested in the world of manufacturing.
I like that. Passion, problem solving, and a little curiosity. That's a recipe for success in any field.
I agree.
Well, this has been an awesome deep dive into the world of rolling stock assembly supervisors.
It has.
We've talked about the skills you need, the challenges and the wins, and how technology is changing this industry.
It's such an exciting field
Mm.
with so much potential for growth and innovation.
So to everyone listening, whether you're just starting your career or you're thinking about doing something new, don't forget about manufacturing.
Right.
It's not just about building things, it's about building the future.
And you never know. Maybe someday we'll have you on the show.
Yeah.
But until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep building.